It's your boy Mills.
It's your boy Shan.
It's your boy Man Moose.
Here we go.
Oh my God, is that the Faces of the Future? Welcome to episode 84 of the Faces of the Future podcast. It's your boy Mills.
It's your boy Man Moose. What's good? What's good? What's good?
What's good, boss man? What's good? What you been up to, man?
Nothing, man. Nothing. Just over the weekend it was Easter. Did what I had to do. Spend some time with the fam. You feel me? Went out for one of my homegirls' birthdays.
Yeah,
Things like that. So it was cool, man. How about you?
everything was good, man. I chilled with the fam a little bit. Got to see my niece for her first Easter, all dressed up and everything like that. The fam, they took her out shopping and stuff like that. Grandparents did what they did.
Oh, it's litty.
So it was fires, vibes. Mom cooked a good meal. It's always good to get a good home cooked meal, things of that nature. So everything was good, man. It was good.
It's good, man. That's what's good. That's what's good.
Yeah. So when it came down to this last episode that we dropped last week, man, the fans were killing us, man.
Killing who? For what?
Just shit. First of all, they was killing you because you said Drizzy wasn't in the top 5 no more. And but based off that verse that he just dropped, you might have to explain to this dude, man.
There's no explaining.
So that's not a top 5 verse
For Drake?
in general in the state of the rap game right now. Like he dropped something like that shakes up the whole rap game.
First of all, he leaked it, but whatever. But
regardless if it's leaked or not.
But also look at the fact that when Drake dropped CLB, nothing on CLB was good enough for it to be like, all right, we gonna keep Drake where he at, and he solidified. Like he dropped mid, and he had mid verses. He could have done a lot better. And the reality of it is that we still holding him to a high regard, but he dropped mid. J. Cole couldn't drop. The moment J. Cole drops mid is the moment that his invincibility status is over.
But you already said he dropped mid before in the past, and he's still considered one of the top bulls.
That's to me. But collectively, objectively, I will say J. Cole is an amazing rapper. I personally don't think that he's as good as his fans make him out to be, but he's up there because when you compare him and how he raps and what he raps about to other rappers in the game, of course he's going to be up there.
Okay.
I'm personally looking at it from a standpoint of you can't put, the way people talk about J. Cole as if J. Cole is Rakim.
Okay.
And the reality of it, he's not. And my thing is why I'm saying that is, for me, I don't put J. Cole as number one, period. He cannot be. He's not number one.
He can never be number one.
Period. Right now, no.
So he can never. Why is that though?
To me,
to his standards, that because he doesn't appeal to your likability, or you just think he's hyped up too much?
No, it's not even.
Because even in the same sentence when it comes to the Drake situation, you said he's not top 5, and it's right after it's crazy how right after that clip dropped, the joint leaked, and it's damn. The first thing I thought was Moose, you got something to explain to do because that verse right there. What would you consider that then? That's a welcome to the league type joint on a record with one of the hottest rappers right now.
Yeah, and that's not a wrong statement to make. But one of the things that you have to understand is that even because Drake did that, my whole thing with Drake is that I can compare what Drake says to other people, and I still don't think that some of his bars or verses hit as hard.
So that's the argument because they just don't hit as hard.
And just the fact of the thing is with Drake, it's also a level of inconsistency. Take singing out of it.
What do you inconsistency? Where though?
Go to CLB and really actually sit down and tell me if any of those verses that he dropped on any track was better than any of the old stuff.
But I'm saying when you say consistency, hasn't he been consistently dropping hot records for the past decades?
Yeah, you can drop
bodies of work.
You can drop a hot record and still not be top 5.
But what I'm saying though, I'm saying consistent bodies of work. And
okay, let's put do you really, out of all the albums Drake dropped right now, is CLB at least top 3?
I'm not saying CLB is top 3. That's not the argument saying CLB is top 3. I'm saying right now in the game with people who are actively rapping and dropping records, I'm saying he's still up there in the 5 in terms of what he can, how he delivers records, whatever you want to put, marketability, bar for bar, things of that nature. All this, he checks all the boxes, does he not?
He checks all the boxes, but just based off what he dropped last, it disappointed me. And I'm looking at it objectively. When you compare CLB and all the rapping on CLB to all the other stuff that he dropped, you're not putting CLB. You could probably make an argument for 1 or 2 verses on CLB being his top 5 verses. And for me, why I say that's important is because then when you look at the project would have to be mid. And for me, if you're gonna be in top 5, or if you're gonna be a top tier rapper, you can't drop mid. You can't.
You can never drop any mediocre type of work if you're a top 5 rapper. Ever.
No.
So, but you have Cole in your that negates your whole argument though. You had Cole in your top 5, and you consistently on a daily basis talk about how he drops regular mid work. You say that all the time. So I'm trying to figure out like where the correlation is and how that adds up and why the goalpost is moved.
Okay. So the goalpost is moved for Drake because one, we have to sit here and actually analyze Drake as a whole and understand, is Drake really as good as he says he is compared to everyone else? Because people don't always consider him 100% a rapper. Some people consider him an artist. Artist, he's one of the greatest artists who's ever lived.
Facts.
Rapper, you can make arguments because sometimes as an artist, it's not always going to be about, okay, you have the hardest verse per se. Facts. You just know how to make a catchy tune, or you can make a catchy rap. You know what I'm saying? Like we're not talking about label issue stuff. We're talking about if they were to drop, let's say mixtapes, taking all that stuff. I think that when you look at Drake, I don't think Drake was really rapping wise. He's top 5. I just think that because he's such an amazing artist, we put him in top 5 because the way that he delivers verses or stuff that he raps about hits in the artist form, but not as a rapper.
But doesn't everything you just say like correlate into being a great rapper? Like when it comes to that, like the way you deliver a record, the way you perform on a record, how you deliver, how you say something, whatever it may be, that all goes into being a top tier rapper. That's one of the reasons that Kendrick Lamar's so great is because how he delivers records in different ways, nothing sounds the same.
Yeah, but in a sense, I get what you're trying to say, but I don't think that that's what you need to be an amazing rapper. Because my thing is that obviously we're taking this in because for me, how I look at top 5s is how you impact the rap game, how you impact hip hop. So I'm trying to put it there because if we want to be honest, there's battle rappers that.
Of course.
So
That's
we got to set the groundwork. But what I'm trying to say is that you don't. A lot of times when people make catchy raps, this, that, and the third, yeah, it's catchy. Like Ice JJ Fish has a catchy song. Like you feel me? Like everybody has certain catchy songs. Like Shorty has a catchy song and he's good with his delivery. Shorty is not a top 10 rapper.
I get that. Okay.
And what I'm trying to say is that when you look at rap, you have to look at the verse, and you have to understand how they're trying to rap. We make Nas top 10. We make Nas one of the greatest rappers ever because he's one of the greatest storytellers ever.
Facts.
We like Tupac because Tupac brought energy, certain type of bravado. Biggie was very witty. You feel what I'm saying? Kendrick Lamar takes storytelling and how he uses his words to a different level. J. Cole knows how to put bars together. He's a punchline rapper. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when we look at these situations, we judge these people in relation to how their best work and their best, how do I say this? It's like their best stats on their rap sheet. How does that compare, and how well did you use that against how all these other people who have good rap sheets, say storytelling on your specialty in rap, how does that compare when you maximize it to everyone else and how they maximize their best rap ability? For what I'm trying to say makes sense.
So basically you have to compare, your standards based off your last best work essentially, and how you compare to that.
No. It's how do I say this? It's like, I'll use a basketball analogy, right? Steph Curry's the greatest three-point shooter ever, right? Giannis is a very dominant force. He's one of the best bigs ever. Debatable, whatever you want to say. But when we look at who's the best player, taking out the narratives and stuff like that, part of that involves Steph Curry shoots three-pointers. How well did he maximize his ability to translate that to wins and helping his team compared to everyone else in the year? So it's like, it's basically like that. So it's like, for me, I look at it as basically what I'm trying to say is that, because I feel like I'm rambling right now, I just think that with Drake, we look at him, we put him in top 5 because he's such a great artist, he's very marketable, all this, but I can't put him against people like J. Cole, and I compare people like J. Cole. I put people like J. Cole in a certain type of situation because the way J. Cole raps, he's rapping, and we like him specifically because he is a rapper. not because 100% his artist formed what I'm trying to say.
I mean, I think a lot of people like Cole. I think people like Cole because of the persona that he carries as well. But I mean, that's here nor there. And then, but another thing that came in the comments is I heard like the old head like thing, and I don't even consider either of us an old head, but because in our top fives, when I put mine on Twitter for the current state, I like a lot of older people from like our generation, like Drake's considered an older rapper, like Cole's considered an older rapper, like, and then when we have conversations on here. When I mentioned Dirk, you're like, nah. Lil Baby, like, nah. So, like, why don't you consider them in that tier of rapper when it comes to like the status of being number one? Because people aren't, like Chase's demographic and age, they think Baby and Dirk are the top guys in the game right now.
So my thing is, you can be top guys in the game, but you're not going to be greatest rappers. I don't think that there's not a lot of people from this generation who will be considered one of the greatest rappers. Like, I don't think there's a lot of them.
Okay.
And I think that because now when we talk about this stuff, a lot of the stuff that we do, it's not even about per se the artist and how they rap sometimes. Like, sometimes it's really just because of the fact of they're pushing a machine, and they're pushing out a lot of the same sounds. And when we look at how J. Cole, we look at how Kendrick, we look at J. Cole, Kendrick, for example, we see how they changed rap. Like, Kendrick is a very progressive rapper and progressive with his bars and how he approaches it. J. Cole took personability to a whole new approach, and he just, the way that he puts his bars together now is just very impressive. And I don't think that a lot of these young rappers are doing that. I just think that they're more so pushing out stuff that helps them essentially, like, live, if what I'm saying makes sense, like, just for their well-being.
So with that being said, though, like, what about like an NBA YoungBoy who like has a generation on lock with the records? He makes very high quality music. Everybody's bumping his stuff. His numbers are ridiculous. His YouTube numbers do crazy amounts. Every time someone else drops, you see his fans in comments, things of that nature. You say he's not like influencing or pushing a generation. I'd have to disagree.
But do you see how you used him pushing a generation based off of the fact of his numbers and not because of his rapping ability?
What do you mean by that?
Peep everything that you said.
But I'm saying people bump his music based off of. Yeah. I say more so like, obviously the content he talks about, the energy that he brings off in his records.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that off rip, when you started talking about this stuff, you basically was like NBA YoungBoy puts high quality music out. Yeah. His stuff does numbers. He has this and this. I personally said, for me, when I look at these rappers and I see niggas who are going to be the best, majority of that was based off of rapping ability.
Yeah, like, it was based off of rap ability, but you can have rapping ability, but if nobody is listening to your music, you're never going to be considered the greatest of all time, is what I'm trying to say. Like, then the second thing I said in that conversation was like, I mean, right or wrong, there's no rapper that has like not a following that's not considered the greatest rapper of all time, bro. Tell me who.
I mean, if you wanna look at it in that, you could look at a bunch of backpack rappers. Like, you have why can't I think of his name right now? It's that weird Tech-9. Someone like Tech-9.
Tech-9 has a following though.
No, he doesn't. Let's be honest.
Bro, people that listen to rap music know Tech-9.
But this is what I'm saying though. When you go and you ask someone, if you ask a young bull right now who Tech-9 is, they're not gonna know who Tech-9 is.
Okay.
My thing is that when we sit here and we have these smaller there are rappers that are backpack rappers, that are underground rappers, that are amazing rappers, but because they don't have the buzz as the mainstream rappers, people don't know them. And what I'm saying is that there are a lot of rappers. I'm not even going to start throwing them out there. We're having this conversation based on politics, but if you start naming rappers like Tech-9, when you start naming other people along those lines, someone like Hobson, who's not, I'm not gonna say he's the best because he's a little weird, but
definitely not.
But his talent is really.
No, his talent is there. Yeah. I'm not disagreeing with that, but I'm saying that's like saying you have somebody that you want to go to use the basketball analogy. That's like saying somebody is on the court that's nice, that's plays at down at the park every night. He's the best hooper in the world. All the top NBA guys come on the court and he's cooking them, but like nobody knows who he is. They're never gonna send him the GOAT unless, you know what I'm saying, people see him actually play. Right or wrong, he's not in the league. He's not playing in the league.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, when you use it in that particular analogy, yeah, but I don't consider a lot of rappers who are backpack rappers and who are in the game. I don't consider a lot of them someone who's on the street. You can say maybe the G League, that would make a lot of sense.
What do you mean?
It's like, because most of these people are not, how do I say this? They're not label priorities. And this is why I
Right.
was saying sometimes
I
with
feel that.
the rapping and being an artist are two different things. Because now if we look at it right, like I can still say, I can make the argument Lupe is still top 10 rappers in the game. You can make the
Yeah.
argument. You can make the argument that someone like Common is still going to be top 10, top 15. But because
Right
of the
now?
I'm saying that, but do you
Right now.
understand?
You're saying right now.
I think Common could drop a classic album right now. But I'm not. But do you see my point though?
No.
But do you see
I
my
get
point?
what you're saying.
But that's my point though.
Yeah,
Like
you
my
gotta
point.
use better. You gotta use better.
My-
I don't because you said
No,
Common, nah, bro.
Because my point
No.
is no. Because Common is
sorry.
Common is still a nice MC.
I'm not saying he's not nice, but no.
But that's my point though. Do you see how?
I don't think he's dropping. I don't think Common's. I mean, not knocking him or nothing like that, but like, I don't think him dropping something now is not gonna in this time period, this time frame. Him dropping a project, bro. I don't think the vast majority is gonna consider it a classic project.
But that's what I'm saying. Nobody's considering any one of Lupe's projects that dropped within the past 5-6 years a classic album either. It's not gonna make an impact. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
isn't that part of being the top boy is making an impact like that?
but that's my thing though. The thing is about making an impact like that is, yeah, you have to make that impact. But after a while, it's the same thing that happens. We look at somebody else who's like, yo, this guy has certain other attributes that we always like to mention. Either it's the star power, the confidence, or this. And sometimes with that, you have to be careful with that. Because my thing is that Lupe, like, I'll say it like this. Someone like Lupe, who still has one of the greatest verses within the past probably 10, 15 years, niggas not looking for him, niggas not checking for him. You know what I'm saying? Like, niggas still talk about Mural from Tetsuo and Youth today, but people don't know what Tetsuo and Youth is. I'm just gonna listen to that album. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, there are people who are not the J. Coles, who are the Kendricks, who are the Drakes, who are the Lil Babies that rap way better than the people that are the label priorities. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you have to look at that stuff like that. And I say all that to say, once again, it's just like on this whole top 5 thing, you have to sit down and be objective about it. Because it's like I said, going back to this, yeah, Drake dropped a crazy verse. A nigga hawk tooth on an album. You feel me? Like he hawk tooth on a track.
That was OD. That was OD.
Yeah, but it's like
if you pushing it, how you taking that?
I mean, I don't think he cares no more. But
no, I'm just
if I was Pusha, I would have to bring back the surgical summer. Might be a surgical spring, for real, for real. You're not gonna hawk tooth on a track and tell me that you
That's
still gotta
OD.
get revenge on me.
That's OD.
And think that he about to get away with that. Nah, bro. Like, nah, I don't care what Jay Prince said. I don't care what none of them. Nah. You hawk tooth on a track? Or nah.
You said I don't care with Jay Prince. I'm dumb.
Nah, son.
Yeah,
I need my fade. I need my fade.
All right, so I'll call Jay Prince right now. I'm playing. Nah, facts.
But yeah.
Nah, I get what you said though, bro. I get what you said. But let's jump into a different topic real quick. Since the day we're recording, today is Easter. There was a tweet that went out and it said, you shouldn't be tithing if you are living paycheck to paycheck. Ain't no amount of religious karma gonna pull you out of poverty. Take care of your temple first before you do anything for theirs. So I want to hear your thoughts on that. What do you think? What do you think about that? Like if you because you know tithes is what usually 10% of like your paycheck.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're somebody who's barely surviving, getting by, you're somebody that goes to church every Sunday. You're a faithful servant of the Lord, things of that nature. You try to follow what the Bible says or whatever it is that you read, and you're supposed to give tithes every week. If you're deciding between like your rent and eating versus giving your 10%, is it wrong if you don't give your 10%?
One, no. Because obviously the Bible speaks of wisdom and not being foolish, but also at the same time, it's the, if we're gonna do that, the story, I'll take this angle, like the parable of the talents, right? And if you look at the parable of the talents, everybody who put an investment into the talents that they already received got more talent. Or in this case, we'll use people who invested their money or whatever they had, they made more off of it, right? And I say that to say, churches are ran as a business. And we run a church as a business. It's the tithes that you do, it's all supposed to be tax deductible. So you're supposed to get the money back. So what I'm trying to say is, whoever tweeted that, it kind of seems like somebody didn't get their tax refunds or the W-2s or whatever you need.
The pastor ran off with that
yeah,
shit.
exactly.
He ran off with the plug.
That's exactly what happened, because it's kind of sounded like, listen, you did all this and there's no documentation of what's
There's
being
nothing. You're supposed to get a refund.
Yeah,
check
you're supposed to get
in
something.
here.
You're supposed to get something that you're supposed to put on your taxes.
Yeah.
And if you didn't do that,
They must have messed up filing.
Something happening.
So who you got to go to get the bread though?
But it's not.
You pressing up. All right. So if pastor owes you bread, you pressing him?
No, but my thing is,
bro, rap. You press him in the name of God, or you know?
No, you just find a new church to go to, bro.
Respect.
But I'm just saying, like, on a serious note, though, it's tax deductible. It's tax deductible. Yeah. So you're supposed to get that information. You're supposed to put that on your taxes to get your bread back. But once again, if you went to a church, you ain't get no documentation of that, my nigga, I can't help you.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
I'm just saying.
How do you feel about churches being ran as businesses?
I mean, that's what you need to do to keep the lights on. Like, there's nothing wrong. Like, there's nothing wrong with churches being ran as businesses, because it's still a certain type of organization that you have to run. That in order for you to get there, you kind of have to make sure that there's certain things in place, and make sure that it's organized in such a way where it runs by itself. Because the last thing that you don't want is for you to have a church and it's like a mom and pop shop, and it's not really based on trying to train people or trying to create organization or trying to have certain methods in place. Don't be surprised the church breaks down, because that's how that stuff happens.
I get running it as a business, things of that nature. I just don't like, in the sense of like, yeah, the church is supposed to be ran as business to keep the lights on, things of that nature. But when it comes to like, it gets to a point. I'm sure you've been to churches where they're like asking for more offering. They're like, I know you guys can dig a little deeper in your pockets to get this.
Oh,
this,
I mean, yeah.
You give dollars. It's like, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, that's where transparency as a church, as an organization comes in, because when you look at, if these people are keeping your lights on, they're technically investors in your organization. And in order for you to keep them happy, which is obviously continue to go to that church, continue to do things there, you have to be able to provide that transparency. And my thing is, if you're being open with the fact of, hey, this is how the church moves with money now, and this is where we're at, that helps. But the thing is, once again, most of this stuff goes under the table. People are like, oh yeah, the church accounted did this, that, and third, but you're not really being held accountable for the stuff that's there. You know what I'm saying? And I think that going forward with stuff like that, how I feel about that is just, you have to understand that some churches are weird, just being honest, and you can't really do nothing about that, you know?
Nah, for sure. They are. And then another thing I think I notice is, like, and I want your opinion on this, is why do you think there's a lack of men, like, in churches, like, around, like, in general? Like, I've always, like, in churches, you see it's very, very, like, at least the churches I've been to, it's very, like, women dominated, things of that nature. Why do you think that there's a lack of men when it comes to the church community?
I'll take this from two angles. I'll take it from a super old approach. I think that when we look at working and how it was back in the day, I think that a lot of people, a lot of men weren't able to go to church because obviously they were the ones that were working. Sometimes, some people didn't have a day off, right? And I think based off of that, I think you look at how do you bring people to bring the lights on and do this, or make sure that you're making money, have overhead, things of that nature. You have to bring women in, because economically, women are the spenders. Women are the ones that throw the money at whatever and things of that nature.
What do you mean by that, though?
When you look at consumerism, like, the statistics show that women are the ones that spend more frequently, but men are the ones that spend larger quantity amounts of money. What I'm saying makes sense.
So you're saying like women spend at a higher rate, but like when it comes to like actual purchases, men is going to be the ones that put more. I got you. Okay.
And so my thing is with based off of that, and this might just be me just being a little bit out there with my thinking, you have to also understand that naturally, whatever, I'm gonna say how it is, people think that women are the more emotional creatures. So how do you now create an environment where you consistently have people to continue to invest in your company and also retain attention so you can have that money? You have to pull on emotions. Naturally, when we see how churches are being broken down and how prosperity gospel is preached now, that's really what it is. Sorry, it's prosperity gospel. When you're telling, say, a woman or a family, and I'm not saying this is women specific, just saying in general, like, when you see this, it's like, oh, if you do this, I'm going to show you how God got me this Lambo, or God did this. And it's like a lot of pastors, and part of the issue is that a lot of guys understand that it's not just about God. like most of this stuff is you have to put in the work to get what you want. Going back to the parable of the talents. If you don't put in the work to invest, you're not getting no money back. If you just bury it and leave it alone, you're not getting no money. You know what I'm saying? Faith without works is dead.
And I don't want to cut you off, but at that point, I think that could be a point as well. But I also think like when it comes to like the authority part of religion, I think that's a big issue as well. And I mean I can see the perspective of why it could be like how would you feel you working your tail off every day 9 to 5 to provide for your family, things of that nature. Then you come into church on Sunday and say you give what you can, and then at the time they were speaking like the offering and things of that nature, and you have someone else, normally a man, telling you you can dig deeper to get more bread than what you have. And it's like, how would that make you feel about how you should spend your money at the time of the day, or how you react, how you should handle certain situations being a man in your household? And I heard that before, just looking at different like comments, things of that nature, or surrounding this topic. It's like, I get that perspective, but it's just like, what can we do, or what can they do when it comes to whatever religion it is, or whatever instances, to bring more people into that, to bring more males into that space? Like, how would you go about doing it if you were like a pastor or someone that's trying to raise, you know what I'm saying, your community?
Well, what do you want? Well, the situation is, what is your goal of the church? And also you have to understand, what do men want? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you could kind of have to appeal to men in churches. And it sounds like, well, once again, I don't care anymore. Look at someone like Mike Todd once again. How many times have you listened to Mike Todd Relationship Goal Series?
None.
How many times? Guarantee you can name 5 girls on the top of your head that go to church that probably listen to Mike Todd's Relationship Goal Series.
Yeah, I don't know who Mike Todd is, to be honest. I've heard you reference him a couple of times, but I really
he's
don't
an
know
internet
him.
pastor. But my thing is that when you preach to the men about things that they go through and how to deal with that stuff, you have higher attendance for men. The reality is that a lot of churches and a lot of pastors preach to women, in a sense. There's a certain way that they talk, like your relationship with God, or in order for God to give you what you want, this is what you have to do for you and your family. Like, a lot of times, like, and this is not to be in a rude way, men are not looking to provide for their family or fix things with their family because they know how to do that. They're trying to find alternative means to either, one, deal with the stuff that they're continuing to deal with by themselves, that they have to deal with by themselves, and also provide an opportunity to get themselves out of a situation that they may be in.
Let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. With that being said, too, do you think people go to like church or whatever as a sense more so not, I don't know, as a sense of like therapy? Like, do you think people look at church as a therapy session? Because I kind of feel like a lot of times that's what it seems like, in a sense of like, you're going there, like, it's not everybody, but sometimes like I feel like that's what it could be used as, or whatever it may be. Like, Sundays is the day where we go talk about how we can move forward or move past like a trial and tribulation that happened that weekend before. And it's just like, I don't know. I just thought about that right now as you were explaining like your thought process.
It's people do, and it's in a good and bad way. You actually have to rely on somebody and continue to use something to help you get into a place where you're at. Because I was thinking about this. I was talking to one of my coworkers. He was like, yeah, nah, like, what you start to realize is that things like, and you know, it's actually funny, and this is just me being a little spiritual. I think this is I was thinking about this today, and obviously we got this conversation. I think that's a beautiful thing to do. It has to be God. But on a note though, when we have Ramadan this past Friday, we had Good Friday and Passover, right? Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting when you break down a lot of these religions, because all of them preach the same thing of believe in God or a higher power, something more than yourself, rely on speaking faith into something, mm-hmm. being mindful, and just being a good person. I actually forgot what the topic was. This is bad.
You said you forgot the topic was. We were talking about how do we get men back into the church?
Yeah, and then
we talked about how do people use churches like therapy?
Okay, yeah. So when you look at situations like that, a lot of people don't break stuff down like that. If you believe in something, speak into something into existence, relinquishing your control to something, you're being mindful, and you're learning how to be a good person. Yeah, to an extent, people do use it as therapy. You know what I'm saying? Because that is a good way for you to practice some of those things that you need to do from the physical aspect of things. But the issue, in my opinion, is now it becomes a coping mechanism and an avoidance mechanism. We use this for example, the girls or the people that lose a relationship and all of a sudden they become so hyper spiritual and just everything is about God. There's nothing wrong with that, but there has to be a balance between your spiritual faith and your mindfulness of the reality of your situation.
Mm-hmm.
If you're saying that you don't have a job, you haven't had a job in 6 months, but you're going to the Ferrari store with faith that you're going to be able to come out there with a Ferrari, 10 times out of 10, you're not coming out of there with a Ferrari. You're probably coming out there with lint in your pocket. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
What's that lit in this pocket?
nah, for real. And it's like, you have to understand that people kind of use God to avoid some issues that they have to deal with. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, you're going there on faith. You're going on the bus. You're doing all this, but you're not addressing the fact that you broke and you have money issues. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that people have to do. Like, yeah, people use it as therapy, but they also use it as an avoidance mechanism and then try to disguise it as the said therapy.
And another thing, I like this conversation right now. When it comes to this and the therapy, we're talking about accountability and things of that nature. When it comes to like praying, do you think praying is just enough?
No. Prayer is one of the three aspects of you trying to be a better person. It's the one thing of speaking positive affirmations, relinquishing control of something that you can't do, right? And part of that, even when you're relinquishing control, is you still have to go and do what you have to do. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Nice.
you have to put in the work that you have to put in and still continue to be a good person or believe in stuff. And
Gotcha.
so for me, like, prayer is never going to be enough, because it even says in the Bible, faith without works is dead. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? If you notice that everything in the Bible that involved us, in my opinion, and all of us getting these blessings and all these things and us learning from God, at a certain point, we also had to take an action in order for us to reveal what God is trying to show us.
No,
God has always made us make an action in order for us to believe in him. When God got the Israelites out of the wilderness after them 40 years, why? They didn't take the time out to actually invest and think and relinquish control and believe in God.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, prayer is not enough. Like, when you look at how people prayed for certain things in the Bible, when they wanted something, they still had to do something in order for them to get the stuff that God's asking for. So, yeah, no.
Now I get that, and that just brings me into like the next conversation I wanted to have of like how religion's a good thing, but it's like how is something so good called so much war? And then my next question to that as well is like, why do we glorify like militaries as well? Like, I want to tie that in, if we can tie that in the best way we can.
I mean, everything has been. I wish I would have read the book already, but there's this book called The Race of War. The War of Race.
Yeah.
By, I don't know. I forgot who. It's in my phone. I was supposed to read it, but ideally, everything has been about religion in the first place. Race was constructed because people wanted to figure out how to distinguish Christians and Muslims, or certain types of Christians, this, that, and the third. Like, that stuff was race was here because of religion, right? And a lot of people, specifically, I'll say white people, had such a very strong preference on what they believed in that that's where it started. It's a misalignment of values. And because you believe that your values are more important, or they align better with what you guys need, you imposing your values on people, that's how the war starts. And I think...
My bad. I'm gonna cut you off because the reason I'm asking that is because it's like, when you look back in time, right? Say like when slavery was happening, and like they were teaching us the Christianity, things of that nature.
Yeah.
Like, why are people so adamant on following a Christianity that was taught from a white person, right? And they, at the same time, those people that were teaching them that were being the most cruel humans possible to them at the same time. Like, how can you follow? Like, I'm just you feel me? I'm just posing the question.
No, I get what you mean. I get what you're
like,
asking. I mean, when you think about it, like, the whole thing of with slavery was that they was basically trying to indoctrinate European standard into them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, for them, they're gonna be rude, they're gonna be mean, they're gonna tell you that your religion is wrong, because that's what they wanted to impose inside of you, because manifests destiny, right? And so as a result of that, that's where the rudeness, the nastiness, the slavery came from. Obviously, besides the fact that they just was the nasty freaking people, but you just have to understand is that, like, that in terms of religion causing war has just been a misalignment of values and people imposing that. And since then, like, there's just been the extremists.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, it's always every single major religion has extremists.
Mm-hmm.
There are Buddhists in Myanmar that were slaying people, and people think that Buddhists are the most quietest people ever. Muslims, You obviously have Boko Haram. You already have. Why can't I think of their name all the top of my head? Al Qaeda.
Yeah, you're
Al
pretty much saying
Qaeda.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, every group has their.
Yeah, they have their extreme. They have their extremists. So it's always whatever happens is with war and stuff like that has always been the religious extremists that have caused it because of the misalignment of values and the strong imposing of values. So when you look at that now, it's like it taking out religion. It's still the same thing now with war. Like people go to war because of a misalignment of values because of this is what we value as our country. This is what the United States valued. The United States essentially created propaganda for everybody to think war is so important
Yeah.
to impose democracy, which in a lot of cases probably wasn't the type of democracy that a lot of people wanted anyways. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you gotta understand like a lot of this war stuff when you want to go into that conversation too, is like this war stuff was really all a big marketing ploy for America to seem like this superpower. And they got the job done. They imposed war. They imposed these sanctions. They created almost all the major organizations that we have. It's like world organizations we have to make themselves feel important.
Yeah, and like the more I get older and things of that nature, and we're talking about like, the way the propaganda and the way America is and things of that nature, it's like you start to see that we're in like a bubble, bro. In terms of like the way we think, our thought process, what's fed to us, how we view history and things of that nature, and like in the conversation with war, it's like, what's the point of like military? Like, why are we going over to different? Why are we in different places doing different things when it's not necessarily needed?
It depends. Sometimes it may be, why can't I think the United Nations issue? Maybe they have to impose those sanctions because the United States is on the United Nations major council. I don't think they've ever been off of it. I don't like you don't have to quote me on that, but there's like the top 5, top 6 large nations that are on there. I think it's United States definitely on there. Russia's not on there. China might be on there, and then a couple of other countries, and that's just always how it's been. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's just very, very weird. Like war is not as big as everybody wants it to make it out to be.
Yeah, it's just I just brought that up because it all like ties into each other, religion, war, things of that nature. It's just like that. I enjoyed that conversation right there. But let's jump into the Face of the Future song of the day, presented by MBT Network. Stop what you're doing right now and click that big red subscribe button on YouTube. If you're listening on Apple and Spotify, click that follow button, leave a review, rate us, and tell us what you guys think of the show. The Face of the Future song of the day comes from a rising artist by the name of Skin and Bones. He dropped a single titled "Sorry," I think about 2 weeks ago. That's going crazy right now. Once again, this is Skin and Bones. Sorry. Once again, that was Skin and Bones. Sorry.
My God, Skin and Bones.
So bring us into the next topic, bro.
Oh, Tashina Arnold asked a good question. I told myself I was going to stay away from this stuff, but it's what it is.
Always find yourself in these topics, but let's get to it.
I didn't tweet. I'll be ignoring that stuff now. But anyways, the tweet goes, asterisk, honest question. What can we as black women in America do to stop aiding the emasculation of black men in America? First tweet. We as black women are not responsible for the image that black men have created for themselves. Wish people would stop placing this responsibility on us. Thought?
Read that one more time. The reply to it.
We as black women are not responsible for the image that black men have created for themselves. I wish people would stop placing this responsibility on us.
It's not solely on them, but I think everybody plays a part in the image that's developed, because at the end of the day, when a black man or a black man's growing up, his first influence, his first person that leads him is his mother, just based off birth, because the connection they have, you know what I'm saying, mother to son, and then it's the father. So then the parents, if they're in a 2-parent household, you know what I'm saying, they kind of shape how the direction in which their child's going to grow up to, the image that they want to create, things of that nature. Obviously, you can't stop a child from doing what they're going to do, because they're going to have outside influences. But you know what I'm saying, to say there's no responsibility, I can't agree. To say it's fully to say it's fully their fault, it's not fully their fault.
Yeah, it never was. I don't think it will be. I think that her saying that is very, very I think it's tone deaf, because it's like this be the reason why I get so mad at, like, when we have these discourse conversations. It's like, if you've noticed, well, we probably won't have to get into the next topic with this anyways, but if you notice with black women, the narrative has always shifted that black men have to be responsible for what happens to black women and what happens in the image and how they look and how we treat them and how we raise them. I personally don't have a problem with that. But notice how when it comes to this conversation of how we help black women, we all have collectively agreed, black men and black women, that we have to aid in helping the black woman,
Mm-hmm.
fixing the image, fixing them, helping them, whatever. Why is it that now in the same realm, when we every single time we've talked about black men, no matter how it is in terms of helping, doing this, it's always something negative. It's like, why do black men have to pull teeth to sit here and understand that, hey, we need help just as much as black women do in this country?
Do you feel with that? Do you feel like black men aren't heard? Is that what you're getting at? Like when it comes to certain things, like you feel like we're kind of just left out into the dry?
Yeah, I'm gonna just have to be honest.
Why do you feel that way? Why do you feel as though like no one is hearing what we're saying or hearing?
I
like,
mean,
the cries for help that we have.
I mean, for one, now this is still just a new thing to people of black men, and not even just black men, just men talking about their emotions. Like it's a new thing for everybody. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's also because even though this is new, I don't think that there's enough hands on trying to actually inquire on how to fix that. And the only reason why I think that is because I don't think that we as a people understand how much like negative stereotypes and whitewashing that we have inherited in order for us to even think about the stuff that we think about now. It's like we still talk about black men and we value them when we talk about them almost in a sense of they're just second class citizens, they just need to get it together. But we don't understand that we've seen that from a young age. We've seen that in TV shows, movies, all that, and it brings us here and how we think about us. You get what I'm saying? And I don't think we're actually sitting down and thinking about that, because when we do, there shouldn't be any issues to why we're saying that stuff. You know what I mean?
Do you feel like with that being what you're saying, the reference of being like second class? Do you have you ever had that feeling where you walked into a room where you couldn't naturally be yourself? You had to put on a certain act to fit what they felt you should be like?
Yeah.
Is that kind of like what you were getting at when it comes to like in that sense?
Oh, when it comes to talking to black men, helping them?
No, just in general. Yeah, like you're saying how we're looked at and like.
Yeah, we're looked at. We have to like the thing is that we don't get an opportunity as black men to be vulnerable based
I
on
agree.
based on how we move in society and based on things that how society moves. You have to understand that black men are forced to be adults at a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
Even with the stereotype, like say with the typical stereotype of a father not being home. Oh, you the man of the house now. Oh, you the man. You have to help your mama out. You have to do this. And these kids don't even get an opportunity to be young and grow out of their mistakes because mentally they've been told they're the man of the house.
Yeah.
Why? Because we're in a stereotype where a black man or a black father gets stereotyped and he gets unnecessarily searched, he goes to jail. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, when we continue to look at these things, we break this down. It's like, yeah, you are 100% right. We don't get opportunities to do a lot of things that we need to do as people.
And when it comes to like the emasculation, do you think that's a problem that's happening?
Yeah.
How so?
Like for the past 3-4 seasons where I've complained about how not even just black women, but how women look at men, that's part of the reason. Like part of our biggest reason as black men are being emasculated is because we have been told since the 60s, 70s that black men are not valuable at all. We've been told that since day one. And now when you're telling black men that they're not valuable, or the only time they're valuable is if you have sex with women or if you get your money, and then now you believe in that stereotype for this to be valuable, we run with that. And then now, 30, 40 years later, you now telling everybody that, oh, we don't really mean that you need to do that to be valuable, or we don't really need you anymore, or we don't need y'all to be in our lives. We just want you here, or we have to want you here. How do you think that they're going to feel? Because part of a man's value in society is what he produces, how he produces it, and how he influences the people around him.
That's a fact.
So now when you look at society and when you look at how I'm not saying this in the sense of black women are bad. I'm saying this in the sense of black women have been taught to think this, that it's like now when you look in a situation where it's like, oh, black women are doing amazing because they are, the constant conversation that they hear from feminism, which I've talked before, is rooted in white feminism, is, oh, you don't need this. You don't need this man to make your life feel fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to be a provider where you can go get a tech job and be a tech babe. You don't need this man where you can go do everything that you want. But the reality is that you need us. And what the craziest thing about it is that we've always had these conversations about how women have been taught not to need man or not to rely on a man. But men never, ever, ever have conversations about, oh, men never feel like you have to rely on a woman for something. Because we do.
Yeah, we need women.
We need women, not even from a standpoint of even trying to increase our legacy. We need them to reproduce. And
But not even just that, though.
Well, I'm saying that in a sense of just at the bare minimum. You get what I mean? What I'm trying to say is at the bare minimum, in order for a guy to even accomplish part of his goal, to feel fulfilled, to feel certain things, for him to influence someone on the next generation, he would need to have kids. At the bare minimum, even if we say we don't need women for anything else, sorry, because I know I cut you off.
You're good.
We only need them to reproduce to help me fulfill my value. Obviously, there's more than that, but at the bare minimum, we still have some reliance on women. You know what I mean? Sorry, I didn't mean to go off like that.
No, I think I agree with a lot of what you were saying, but I think in the context, I just think that we both, like you said, need each other at the end of the day, and like I do think there's a narrative that says that we are needed in society. I mean, I feel I hear that all the time. There's a lot of conversations that are being had as well, and then yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think like I said at the beginning, I think everybody plays a role in the emasculation part. You feel me? I feel like, but I do feel like also in society we're starting to see. I always talk about the representation thing, and talking about the value. Like you talk about like how in the past, it's not even the past. It's now. It's like you have to have a lot of chicks get money, rock chains, things of that nature. Like there's more different versions of representation that shows we don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, I agree. And I bring this up again last week. It's like when we see on TV that the only time men are valued and black men are valued is when we have all those external things. That's what we chase because we want value. We don't, once again, I bring this up, we don't have a modern day My Wife and Kids. We don't have the modern day Family Matters. We don't have the modern day smart guy about a single father who raised his kids. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you this: when it comes to the value thing, if you were to switch the standard in which we place value on ourselves in the way society should view us as being a valuable person, what would you say that would be?
Say that again?
All right, if you were to change the standard of what society viewed us as a valuable person and what we view ourselves as having value to give to the world, like what would you say as be like, as we said before, like society put you have to have a lot of women, change things like that. If you were to change that and put what society look at us as valuable, what would that be?
I would make sure that it's something that's non-sexual and just making sure that you are the best version of yourself. Because it's like, I didn't want to bring him up, but he brought up a good ass point. Kevin Samuels brought up a good ass point.
Who brought Kevin Samuels? What did he say?
He said that why is it that we as a society only place value on us and how much we have sex with women? I forgot the context and what happened, but he was going off. It might have been Will and Jada or something like that, but he was saying like, why do we place so much value in us being able to be these free sexual creatures and untamed sexual creatures? I'm paraphrasing right now, but it's like, and it's like when you take that out, when you take the need to say I need to have sex with multiple women, when you make a guy wait or you make a guy just push off sex, he's mad focused. When you take women out of a man's life, he's mad focused, and it's like a lot of time, most of the stuff that we do at the end of the day are for women. Just like at the same time, all the stuff that a lot of women do at the end of the day are for men. And we have to change it.
I have a theory though, like when it comes to a lot of things men do or to impress other men, but that's a hit theory in their head and there. Because I feel like a lot of stuff that men do, yes, it's for the women, but I feel like almost in a sense that men value how other men view them as opposed more so than they care about how women view them.
Of course, because men want men's respect. Like most of the men who feel like they are somebody, they feel like they have the respect of people. It's like, for example, when we go to sports, when you play football and you know that you the starting linebacker and you know you one of the best in the state, you gonna walk around like I'm around dudes that are the most athletic in my age range, and I show that I'm the best.
Yeah.
And people respect you for that. When they see Miles Matthews walk on the field, oh no, that's Miles Matthews. He the number one linebacker in the state of New Jersey. You gotta give him his respect. You gotta make a play on him, and that gives you that respect. Like, oh snap! Like, all right, they gotta make a play on me. Like, they got game plan for me. Like, look at that. I have something of value here. And the thing is that's the thing. It's like you have to change and show men that it's not about you just having sex with women that places value on you. Because at the end of the day, you have sex with all these women. But what does that get you in the long run for what you want for yourself? You feel me? So, yeah.
No, I hear you with that. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good conversation though. Like, I hope the narrative changes. I hope that the generation coming up after us places value on different things, and even like the follower aspect, like with the social media now, like I feel like that's like the value now when it comes to being popping or whatever it is, or being looked at as someone that's a credible person. So I don't know why, but like we put value on the dumbest things, and I just don't get it. But yeah, so the NBA playoffs just kicked off.
Yeah.
Today there's been a couple games over the last few days. We just saw a solid game with the Nets and the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
With that game being said, the Celtics won on a game winner. Where do you think KD and Kyrie are going to take the Nets? Do you think Ben Simmons is going to help them get over the hump of Boston? Do you think they'll come out of the East or what?
All I'm going to say is if KD misses another defensive assignment like that, they're in trouble.
It wasn't even the defense. I feel like they had a bunch of turnovers the whole game.
They did, but I'm talking about that last play.
Yeah.
KD missed the assignment, and you saw that he saw that.
Yeah, I think there's no way you should give up a layup in the last second of the game. That's OD.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
When you look at how the play came out, and when you look at when you watch KD on the tape and you watch his reaction to how everything happened, he messed up. And he knows he did. And to say what you're saying is the Celtics defensively really are like the top 3 team defensively.
They was picking them boys up at half court. They playing more physical.
That's what I'm saying. And they put Kyrie in a locker.
Yeah, he was hooping.
He was hooping. Don't get me wrong, but it was like they put him in a locker. They made it hard. Yeah,
he had to work for every bucket, bro.
Yeah,
every bucket.
And they weren't with it. But defensively, that's really who they were. Like,
does that make Boston more of a favorite now? Is them coming out playing game one the way they did, or you got to see a little bit more for the series?
I still think that the Celtics are gonna win regardless.
You think they're gonna win the series?
Yeah,
I don't know, bro. Like
even with Ben Simmons coming back, it's not going like you gotta understand. Ben Simmons has not played basketball in how long?
Yeah,
he has to get in basketball. He's not like maybe if they get to the Eastern Conference Finals and he comes back game 4 and if they win, they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I'll say that'll be different, right? But right now, Ben Simmons is not going to have the impact you think that he's going to have when he comes in there.
But some say all he has to do is play defense because he got KD and Kyrie to score.
But you still have to be in basketball shape.
You do.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's not a one-game thing. And
yeah, it's going to take him a minute to get in the groove. He hasn't played with them in at all this year.
Yeah.
So it is going to be hard to come in the middle of the season. And then last night, the Sixers were hooping, man.
Tyrone Maxey was hooping.
Yeah, Maxey was hooping for real. Joel Embiid, he played all right. He only had 19.
Yeah.
Yeah, 19, but he didn't really have to score. Maxey had 36.
Yeah, because he's the third option. They put James Harden and Joel Embiid. They put them through the workout. They are making it hard.
Put it through the workout.
Yeah, I was like, damn, they moving on that one.
What was I about to say? When it comes to Maxey, do you think if he plays well, the Sixers become a favorite? If he play like that the whole playoffs, do you think
yes
they become the favorite now in the East?
Yes.
I think they're about to be hard out. If they play the way they did last night, I think it's gonna be hard for the Sixers to get knocked out. And I'm a Harden fan. I'm not a Sixers fan. But
yeah.
I'm paying attention to him now. But I don't know. I think if Maxey plays the way he did, Harden's got to give us 20 and 10 assists. And Joel got to give us at least 25 a game, or give them 25 a game, and they should be solid.
I think that James Harden need to do a little bit more.
How much? What do you mean?
That's a tiny bit. When
Like
you say he
more-
needs
more-
20, I think he needs. Sorry, because this is my own bias with James Harden. He needs to drop 25 a game.
25 a game. Even if Maxey's giving us 20,
Yes.
giving them 20.
Yes, he has to. Because my thing is that let's go with the assumption that Maxey is the leading scorer for the whole playoffs. They make it there and they win because of Maxey. James Harden is still gonna have that reputation of just being he don't make the impact in the finals, and it's like someone like James Harden and Joel Embiid need the Finals MVP because that's why like some people can make the argument with Steph where it's like you are a great shooter, but are you really that great player that makes an impact because you don't have a Finals MVP?
Yeah, true, but I think the pressure is off of James Harden a little. It's not off of him, but I think if Maxi's playing at a high level, then it's gonna allow Harden to.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
It's gonna allow Harden to kick. You feel me? Even Tobias played decent. He played decent. I still think he out of there next year. But,
he is out of there. He's out of there.
That's here nor there. But yeah, that's all I really wanted to talk about when it came to the NBA playoffs because there was some good games. Like I said, the Sixers impressed me last night.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk about this outside of sports. So apparently, Kim K's son saw her sex tape. And I know you talk about the OnlyFans and all that stuff and the repercussions down the future. If you are a husband of a former OnlyFans woman or someone that has a sex tape and your child sees the sex tape, how are you responding to
that? I can't do anything. One, I would never put my child in that position. That's for damn sure.
What you mean put him in a position?
For me to marry an OnlyFans girl, to date an OnlyFans woman.
True.
I would never put my kids.
What if you ain't know? You ain't know, but you fell in love.
Oh, that's a problem. Oh no, that's a problem.
How's it a problem?
Oh, that's a problem.
How's it a problem?
I find out that you're an OnlyFans girl because my son is coming home and saying that they called her Pennywise online.
Pennywise? Why Pennywise?
Because how she handles the kids. She was killing the kids.
Yo. This man here, bro. This man here. I'm done. But nah, if that happened, I don't know what I would do though. I don't know what would happen if like you walk in and your kid's on the iPad and you just see your mom getting
absolutely not, bro.
Getting the Mario coins knocked out of her.
Oh nah, Sonic rings, bro. Nah, what? Or nah. He would never be allowed to be on that game again.
Yeah, I'm done. We can't know that, bro. We can't know that. That's all. You got anything else for this episode,
man? No.
That's all I got. It's episode 84 of the Face of the Future podcast. It's your boy Bill.
It's your boy, man. Some moves. Someone said Shan. Shout out to Shan.
Shout out to Shan, man. Man, we miss you, dog. You know what I'm saying? We happy when you come back. But yeah, shout out to our dog. But yes, once again, episode 84 of the Face of the Future pod. It's your boy Mills.
It's your boy, man.